Every year, hundreds of thousands of people attend dozens of anime, comic book, and science fiction conventions throughout the United States. A solid chunk of those that go to these cons will attend in costume, spending some serious time and money to look like their favorite characters. It's called cosplay. Why go through all that effort? It's a combination of personal passion, an urge for self-expression, and a desire to connect with other like-minded people.
Well, I haven't cosplayed in a really long time, and the more time that it passes, the less I think about doing it, because it was a very expensive hobby, and a lot of my friends have moved on from that, so it's not as fun if I don't get to do it with my friends. But every once in a while, like somebody talks about an anime that I also like, and they want to do the cosplay from it, and it's like, oh man, I totally want to be in that group and I want to wear this outfit. So I do think about going back to it a lot of times, and maybe this year I'll go back to it. We'll see. I think it was like 2 months ago when you first interviewed me, and back then I wasn't really sure if I was going to cosplay or not. Everything was up in the air. And I think what changed the most was two things: that I got a job, so I have a steady source of income, and then number two, that I found a friend that she really wants to cosplay a character from a series that I like. So seeing her like really motivated and really into the series and into the character made me like want to, okay, I'm gonna do this too, we're gonna do it together, and we're gonna go to this event, and we're gonna be together, and it's gonna be awesome, it's gonna be fun. And now that's all I think about all day. I really like the outfits that they wear in anime, and for Halloween, rather than wearing what everybody else was wearing, like the typical things, like be a bumblebee or Cinderella or things like that, I wanted to wear a costume from an anime show that I liked. And that's how I did it. My first costume was Team Rocket from Pokemon.
I've always been really into video games and comic books ever since I was a little girl. My brother got me into them. So ever since I was a little girl, he would like bring home comic books, and I would sit there and watch him play video games, and I always loved the costumes on there. And you know, I was a little girl, so I was into dress up and things like that. I've also had a really big love for theater. I was a theater major, so I've been into making costumes for myself and doing makeup and things like that. So put all that together and it sort of just equals cosplay.
I got into cosplay about 6 months ago. I went to SuperCon for the first time, and I had an artist booth like I do now. And everyone had these really cute outfits. They were all cosplaying, and I wanted to get in on that. Yeah, I'm really fresh, but I've always had a passion for anime. And so it just it goes hand in hand.
About 6 years ago when I had first moved to Florida, because I actually lived in Wisconsin, but I was like in a small town, so I thought I was like the only person into anime, and I didn't realize like people actually dressed up for like fun. So when I moved here, I was like, my mind was like blown. It was like small world, like going into a big world, and I was like, people actually do this? I don't just have to sit in my basement in my cat ears anymore? Yay! Yeah, because my friends were into cosplay, so I actually went to my first convention down here with them, which was Megacon. And after that, I was just like, I want to do this forever. So yeah, 6 years down the line, now I just sit at a table all day.
Well, I've been going to cons for about 9 years. And you know, the very first time that I saw cosplay, I just liked the idea behind it. You know, it was one of those things that I wanted to do. I'm like, you know what? I grew up watching all of these different cartoons. I, you know, grew up being a gamer. I kind of like being able to dress up as these characters that I grew up watching, you know. And, you know, it was one of those things that I wanted to do, but I didn't, because I, at that point in time, did not have enough self-esteem to do it. And then it wasn't until about 4 years ago that a comic book artist friend of mine by the name of Frank Cho contacted me and asked me to do some figure modeling for him. And I did. I had an absolute blast. It was awesome. And, you know, after that, I very, very slowly started to get just a little bit more confident. I'm like, hey, you know, maybe I can do this. And, you know, then San Diego Comic-Con 2012 rolls around, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to make a costume, and I'm going to walk the floor, and I'm going to have fun, and I'm going to do it. And that was the very first time that I did it.
Okay, so in my effort to get myself organized and motivate myself, I made 2 piles for my next 2 cosplays that are happening for sure. And one is for Mimori from AKB48. and the other one for Misuho, the hot teacher from Onegai Teacher. And unfortunately for Mimori, I don't have much. I only have really the white undershirt that she uses under her vest. And then these things that I need to work on, these are like Christmas earrings that light up. But what I wanted to do is like break them apart to take out the lights and the lighting mechanism to make this little thing called a kirara, which is a thing that glows for her when she's singing in concert. So hey, those were only like 75 cents, and I don't know, I'll make it work somehow.
I think I like designing because like I'm going for school for fashion. I actually work in theater doing wig design now. So I think that's like a big aspect of that. Is like I can take something that's 2D and make it 3D, and it's with materials I like sewing and styling wigs and stuff like that. It's basically being able to do Halloween all the time on like an extreme level, which I find really interesting.
And then for Misuho, I actually have a bunch of stuff because her outfit is so normal. A lot of the parts I could just buy it in the store, like a green shirt, pencil skirt, teacher skirt, and then black high heels that I got at Goodwill for $5. Awesome. And this took me quite a while to find. Like, it's an accessory that goes in her neck. I had to modify it a little bit.
You know, like Velma, for example. This one had been on my list for a while. I think, it was the day before a convention. I hadn't had anything new that I was going to debut, and I really wanted to have something new for the show. So I went ahead and made the skirt, and you know, it's a sweater. You purchase a sweater. And I put the whole thing together about 24 hours before the convention.
Since I'm kind of in a rush, and I didn't want to buy a pattern because I already have so many, I was able to find a pattern for the vest online, and I think it's a pretty good match for the vest that I'm trying to make. The only problem is that now I have to actually go and put this together after printing it at my home printer. So that's gonna be a bit of work, but hey, it's cosplay, so let's get to it. So I have this is a tracing table. It's actually for drawing, but you can use it for other stuff too, like lining this up. That's another thing with trying to do everything by yourself with cosplay. You end up buying a lot of materials and a lot of tools. So that's why it starts turning into a pretty expensive hobby, especially when you start wanting to make 6-foot swords and then you wish you had wood cutting tools and resin and enough space to cure stuff like that. In this case, like if I didn't have this light table, then this task would definitely be much more difficult than it needs to be. But I have it, and it helps a lot. So that's why it's also good to have cosplay friends, because then you can, all of you, share your cosplay supplies.
Well, like most of the time I do it by myself right now, because most of them, they're working all the time or they're finishing school. But sometimes I just like, for example, if some of my friends live in another city, we just like, where are you gonna wear? Because like we can do some kind of theme on their costumes. For example, if I'm wearing like Harley Quinn, you can do Poison Ivy and Catwoman. But we're not doing it, the costume at the same house, because like everybody lives very far.
As a whole, I think cosplayers are there to help other cosplayers. It's really great when you can go on a forum and say, oh my gosh, my entire costume fell apart, what do I do? And you get 200 responses within like 10 minutes of everyone saying, do this, there's this tutorial, you can do this, sew this together, you know, it's great, I can help you out with this, beautiful. And everyone is willing to help you out, and that's just beautiful.
In this box, I have stuff that it's already completed, and then I wore to other events, which I think I might take to this event too, because why not? The more costumes, the better. And oh my god, a vest. Awesome. So this is a schoolgirl outfit, I think. Yep. It was a schoolgirl skirt and vest. And now with this, I can pretty much trace this pattern. It's pretty similar to the vest that I need. And also using the pattern that I have, so it'll come out better. But yes, I have a vest. Definitely, it's an artistic outlet. Like, it combines so many other aspects. Like, you have to learn to do sewing, even do sculpture. I even use my graphic design to like scale weapons, print them out, and like then build them with wood, with plastics, with eggshells, like with anything. Like you had to like really get creative about how you resolve the problem of seeing something that looks crazy in a picture and then bringing it to life in 4D.
Definitely, it's like an outlet. Like, you know, you just get to go be someone else. You know, from the norm office. You know, sitting there doing this all day.
And now you're another.
You get to be free and go do something cool. You know, it's like Halloween every day.
The thing I love the most about cosplay, I guess, is just crafting, because it's like an art, and I love it. And also sometimes kind of role playing, even though sometimes I feel kind of shy about it, but I love the role playing of it, and especially when you're doing a character that you actually love. And
anytime I do a new costume, I like to try a different medium, or work with something I haven't done before, or do something I haven't done before. Either it be sculpting, you know, making armor, you know, casting stones, stuff like that. I like to go out of my comfort zone, because, you know, who knows, that may actually work better than what I've been doing this whole time.
And like we text each other back and forth, like I found this fabric, I found these boots, or I found this thing, and what do you think of this, or how are you gonna make that? And we talk about it all the time, and it starts getting really exciting. And then we watched episodes of the show, and like, oh my god, I love this scene. So like we really start talking about all the things we like, and that's how I'm getting back into it. Finding somebody that loves the character and like the thing that I want to do as much as I do.
I'm kind of shy, but like over the last couple of years with the cosplaying, like I've grown into like this wonderful outgoing butterfly.
I'm actually a lot more social now than I was, because growing up I was always the shy girl. The only time I ever went out and did anything was if I was in a play, and even then, like, I wasn't so for the after parties or anything like that.
Out of costume, I'm very quiet. I'm a very reserved person. In costume, I don't stop talking. You put on a persona, you can be anyone, you can do anything. So, you know, you don't have to be afraid. And with cosplay, it's for me, that's what it's like. It's helped me be able to bring those parts into my personal life, where I'm more outgoing than I used to be before, out of costume. But for the most part, I'm usually kind of, you know, quiet and reserved. But with the community, you know, like just the fact that they're welcoming, they're accepting. I've made some of the most amazing friends in cosplay that, you know, otherwise I would have never had.
And then putting the money together or the resources together for the trip, it will be almost the same as putting it together for another event, maybe in Orlando, which is not that far. So since the experience, like having fun, is what's worth it for me. Like I don't really care where I have to go. Maybe I'll go to one less event this year because I'm going out of state, but at least it's the event where I'm gonna have the most fun. Yep. Or bond through cosplay.